Okay, you guys, today's episode is definitely a personal one. And I am all about the schedules, the routines, the time blocking, and all the things. But what do we do when all of that goes away? What do we do when the schedules aren't scheduling and the time management kind of goes by the wayside? Well, today I want to share with you my summer schedule and the unexpected things that have been coming up so far this summer. And I have to say, I have been kind of in full mommy summer camp mode. And when we started the summer just a couple weeks ago, in my head, I had this idea of morning work time while the kids were at camp and schedules and being able to work out in the morning before the kids were up. And I would pack all the kids' backpacks before summer started, like summer camp started. Well, we started the first day of camp and nothing went according to plan. As a matter of fact, the whole schedule kind of went out the window. And today's podcast, I want to talk about what do you do when things don't go as planned. Now, this could be your summer schedule, this could be a work schedule, maybe any transition or travel, things that are not planned for. Because as much as I talk about scheduling and planning, there's definitely times when there's a wrench thrown into the mix and you have to look at the things that you can control and you have to look at those variables. And as a working mom, I have to still be able to get my working time in. This means being creative. This means being flexible. And today I want to share with you a few of the tips that I've learned along this process. There's a few, but there's 8 of them that really stand out for me that I want to share with you because I feel like no matter what season you're in, when your kids are little and they're going to camp for the first time. Actually, the kids made me this at camp today. Whether you are a new mom, whether you have just had a new baby and you're adding a new member to your family or you're traveling. Again, there's so many different scenarios where things just don't go according to plan. And I think that, again, as much as I do talk about the scheduling and the routines, I also want to acknowledge that there are times when none of that may work, or there's times when only a little bit of it might work. So I think this is going to shed some light and give you some hope and give you some help and give you some strategies that, number one, are going to work, but also they're tried and true because I have now done these myself. Now that I've been in the mix of this craziness of these past 2 weeks, I'm still finding the flow and finding the rhythm. Be honest, it's changing every week because the camps are changing, the schedules are changing, the travel is changing. So I'm going to share with you my top tips that allow me to have a schedule all while the summer schedule is going on and the camps are going on, and how we tap into finding schedules and finding a rhythm when things might be going a little crazy. Okay, so when we do all the scheduling and all the planning and things still don't go according to plan, the number one thing that I have found that has supported me in this is being flexible. And even when you have a plan and you have printed out timestamps with schedules and people, maybe even to support you, a spouse, help, camp, caretakers, you have to be flexible because things could change at any time. A little example that I can share with you is that I signed my boys up for camp, both of them to go to the same camp. And my oldest is almost 7 years old. He's used to going to school, he's used to being away from me. But my youngest is 3, almost 4, and he has never been away from me before. He's been home with help with a nanny, or my in laws or my husband. But other than that, he has never been outside of really like what he knows. So when I thought of this genius idea of setting him up to go to camp with his brother, it didn't take into account that like he was going to be technically alone, not alone, but you know what I mean, for the first time. So the first couple of days, to be honest, were a little frustrating because I was like, oh my gosh, like what's happening now? I'm not getting my work done. The schedule's not going according to plan. And it can be frustrating. But what I found, and I'm going to kind of like mix a couple of my tips in here for you. The second tip that I have to go with being flexible is embrace the moment. I mean, there was definitely a time I can't remember if it was the first day or the second day where I was just like getting frustrated. Oh my gosh, am I going to get work done? Things aren't going according to plan or the schedule. Like, how am I going to do these things? How am I going to get work done and be here? Because you guys, I was staying at the camp with my kids, was literally staying there from 9 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And by the time I came home, it's like half the day is gone, right? And there's only a couple of hours left. Technically, I shut my workday down around 4. So I really had to be in the moment and just focus on, like, instead of focusing on what didn't go according to plan, I had to find the joy in those unexpected moments and kind of reframe my thinking. And I think that a big part of this is also because he's my youngest, realizing like this is the last time that this is going to happen, like the attachment at this level. And I know for all the moms that are out there that have littles at home, maybe you've gone through this recently, maybe you're going to be going through it soon. As much and as frustrating as I was in the moment, I have to say I did step back and was like, wow, this is going to be the last time that this happens. And my husband reminded me of this. And I think that, again, as scheduled as I am and as I want things to go according to plan, when I actually, took a moment to step back and say, I need to embrace this moment. I need to realize that this is the last time that I'm going to have this. It made me appreciate it more. It made me be more in the moment. It made me just be more present, I guess, because I was so worried about what I was missing out on that I wasn't realizing what was right in front of me. So that is a big, big takeaway about being flexible and being in the moment, because these moments aren't going to happen again. Like every day he's getting a little bit better. Every day he's like, I can feel it and I see it, that he's becoming more independent, which is what you want as a parent. But also it's the last time that I'm going to have that. So it's so bittersweet at this moment, but I'm learning along the way. And in this process, it's making the journey so much more, instead of being like frustrating, it's making it a learning lesson, and it's making it something that I'm embracing. So the next thing that I want to share with you is prioritizing connection. And, I didn't do this in the beginning, but as the days, and now that we're in the second week of this, have gone on, I'm using this time to really strengthen the time with both of my children. So having some more one-on-one time with them, being able to adjust my work schedule or my plans. So the memories and the moments that I'm in, I get to be in and prioritize that. And again, like that's, I'm never going to have this summer back. I'm never going to have this summer 2024 back with my kids. So just putting things into perspective, I think, is a really like big eye opener, because I think we get so much into, at least I know I do, the schedules and the routines and what I need to get done like that day or that week or in that moment. And I was like missing out on the bigger picture. So I'm so glad I was able to. And the reason why I really was sharing this in the first place is because I did an Instagram live like the first week that we were in camp. And I think it was the second day. And I was like, man, like, things did not go according to plan. But then because of that reflection, it made me realize all of this silver lining in all of these moments. So I hope that this does this for you too. Because again, I think that there's a lot of learning through these unfamiliar moments. So the next piece of information and the next a little tidbit that I want to share with you is exactly that, is find the silver lining. Look for the unexpected moments or the connection points or the little positive outcomes from the situations. And again, I think sometimes in the moment, it's hard to find it or see it. But then when you can take a step back and evaluate and maybe even reflect on it, you will find that silver lining. I had the same exact thing happen to us when we were moving. It was so frustrating. The timelines were off. It was a very, very like, because things aren't scheduled, of course, and on the timeline that we think they're on, it becomes very frustrating. And in that moment when we were moving 2 years ago, I said, okay, I've got to find the silver lining in this. I've got to find the thing that's, going to give me the positive, not just all of the things that aren't working. So I think that if you can always, always look for the silver lining and find the positive outcome or the solution or what you're gaining from it, that is such a game changer. Like that alone is a game. That's like a life hack. That's the biggest life hack that I think if you have that mentality, you will win at life. So just realize that there's always a lesson to be learned. There's always something positive to learn or to get out of it. And when you can find the silver lining, you get to kind of learn through these new experiences. You get to learn and discover something new, probably about yourself that you didn't know. So that's something that very interesting that I encourage you to lean into as you might be going through some challenging times, difficult times, or as you're kind of trying to figure out what that new version or new season of your life might look like. Okay, so the next tip that I want to share with you is having some self-compassion. It's okay, and I've had to remind myself of this quite a few times. It is okay to not have everything perfectly organized all the time. It's okay to have schedules that don't go exactly according to plan. It's okay to give yourself grace and acknowledge that things change, that parenting changes, that life changes, and that you're trying to balance work and home and kids and all of the different things. Like there needs to be a level of self compassion and understanding that summer can be challenging. And maybe for you, this might not even be about summer. This could be a new season in your life. There has to be a level of self-compassion that you give to yourself, because it's so easy to like beat up on yourself for what didn't go right or what was difficult or what could have been or should have been. But having some self-compassion and just saying like, these things did go well and I did do this right. And look, if you are putting in the effort and you are also acknowledging that like, sometimes there's just seasons and sometimes there's difficult seasons and sometimes there's easy seasons. And this just might be one of those moments where it's a little bit more difficult, but you're navigating it and figuring it out along the way. Like there's so much, at least for me, there's so much opportunity there. There's so much opportunity for growth there that instead of it becoming something challenging, it now becomes this learning opportunity. So have a little bit of self-compassion. Know that not everything's going to go perfectly. And I'm probably talking to myself right now, but like not everything's going to go perfectly all the time. And it's okay to take a step back and just realize how far you've come. And also, it's also okay to know that things can be challenging at time and also to ask for help. I think that's also a big piece of this is like ask for help with people around you. That's another tip that I have is like, I'm kind of bunching these two together, 5 and 6 together, is seek support, right? Like don't hesitate to reach out to other parents, your spouse, family, like support networks and systems. They're there to do just that, to help you, to support you, to give you advice or ideas, or maybe even just encouragement. So lean into that. It could be just like the mom groups that you're in. It could be your girlfriends that you have. But lean into that and share your experiences, because when I opened up and I went on Instagram and I shared this, there were so many other moms that were like, I'm going through the same thing. Like, I don't know when to put my child into daycare. My son is going through this summer transition right now, and this is not working as planned for us either. Like and then the thing is like, it's normal, like, and you feel like you're not the only one. So lean in, seek those support systems, and it's okay to also, know that there's just a season for this. Like I keep saying, it's not going to be forever. It's just this moment right now. And probably, and I know I'm going to feel this way, when it's not there anymore, you're going to miss it. Because I know when I drop Jake off at school and he's not like, Mom, please don't go. And he just goes on his way. And, I'm proud of him because he's grown up and he's independent. But a piece of me, I can't even say a small piece, a piece of me is like, but I miss you so much. And like, don't you miss me? So it's such a normal part of parenting. But I've found through this transition and going through it once already with Jake and now going through it with Jordy, and the fact that it's my last, the fact that it's really so bittersweet. Okay, so the next tip that I want to share with you is to set realistic expectations. I think that probably one of the reasons why it was so frustrating for me in the beginning, and again, this is a very real, raw episode where I'm sharing this because I know there's so many other women or families that are going through seasons, changes, summer schedules, like all the things. And we can lean on and support each other. Um, being able to set these realistic expectations, I think I went in having unrealistic expectations, both for myself and for my kids. I think that, in the beginning, I definitely thought that the schedule was going to go according to plan and everything was going to be smooth. But like, again, if I looked back from the history of when Jake started, it definitely didn't go like that. So I think I had high hopes, but I definitely didn't set realistic expectations of what it was actually going to be. So just understanding that, again, whether it's any kind of transition, summer schedules, travel schedules, it's going to require adjustments. And it's important to set achievable, not just goals, but expectations on what it's going to look like, and leave room for margin, like leave those margins for error, right? Like if things don't go according to plan, like if they do, amazing, but if they don't, which they probably won't, at least that was the expectation, right? At least you're setting realistic expectations so you don't set yourself up for failure. And I think that was a big part, honestly, of why I was so kind of like caught off guard that first week. And as I got into day 1 and day 2, my expectations started changing and I started to have more compassion, and I started to put myself in his shoes, and I started to think about, prioritizing more connection, and where's the silver lining in this, and how am I connecting with him, and how am I embracing these moments, like all these tips that I'm sharing, because it took me a week or at least a couple of days to really lean into that versus like, why isn't this working? And I was hard on myself, which I probably was hard on my son too, which, I mean, not in the same sense of what I was saying to myself in my head about like my schedule and why it's not working. I only told them like, I'm here. I'm going to be here until, you're comfortable, because I feel it's best to like ease into these things and not just like drop them off and go, look, if that's your child and that works for them, good for you. But I just know for me, and both my sons, their personalities are so different in terms of like easing into things or knowing like what their boundaries are. So that's probably another tip there too, is like just know yourself and know your kids and what's going to work best for them, because every child is so different. Okay, and the final tip that I have for you as we embrace all of these new changes and go through whether it's a season or just a moment in time where things aren't going according to plan, is to create boundaries. Now, I know for me, the schedule that I had prior to summertime was I would work in the morning from 10 to 2, and then I would shut everything down around 3 o'clock, around 2 to 3. And then when the kids got home, then I was now in mommy mode, cooking dinner mode, wife mode, house mode. But now that we're in summer, the schedule has shifted a little bit. I'm breaking things up. There's definitely still time for work and family, but now it might be a little bit staggered. But I do have to keep the boundaries in place of look, mom has to get this work done, right? But I also have to have that intentional time with my kids. So again, it's creating boundaries, but it's also creating a flexible schedule that works for you. And I remember sometimes even in the beginning, like when I first, like when the boys were little, only having maybe 30 minutes, an hour of time to like really get focused time and attention on the business because they were taking a nap or they needed a breastfeed or there was just unforeseen circumstances. So that's why I say like, and again, I'm talking through this, but I'm also talking to myself through this, is just be flexible with yourself, give yourself grace, and know that like it's only a moment, it's only a season, and it's going to be here and gone before we know it. So lean into it, embrace it, look for all the positives. And I know for me, again, all of these things that I'm sharing with you have helped myself and my family navigate these changing times. I want to say in the beginning it was challenging, but now it's just that they're changing, they're evolving, and every day it's getting a little bit better. And every day I'm learning. Honestly, every day I'm learning on how to be more flexible. Every day I'm learning how to have more connection points with my kids and my husband. Every day I'm learning how to have more self-compassion. I think that is a that's a practice all in its own. And if you can have self-compassion, then I think that you're able to know that like everything doesn't need to be perfect. And I think also if you're here, you're a high performer and we're so used to going and doing and being and all the things. So I know for me, I'm really not like saying, oh, Sandi, it's okay. Like there's not a lot of that talk. So I think that being in this moment and knowing that things don't need to be perfectly organized right now. Things don't need to be perfectly planned right now. They're probably not going to go according to plan, that it's okay. It's not going to be forever. And as we can tell ourselves, myself, these things and kind of go along with it, I mean, I'm sure by this time next week, he's going to be even more confident in going to camp, being alone, and it's going to be a completely different story. So again, I think seasons as a mom, as a wife, as a business owner, as a homemaker, someone that is wearing multiple hats, even if you're wearing one of those, it is a full-time job. But you add on more than one or multiple, and yeah, there's a lot of different things that you're trying to juggle. So what I would say is just go be kind to yourself, and just know that like this too shall pass, and this is a season, and it's a beautiful season. And one of the things that my grandmother had always told me since the time that I was little, was that everything's cyclical. So when times are really good and fun and easy, it's not going to be that way forever, right? Like things are going to get hard. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be challenging. But the flip side is also true. So when things are challenging, when they're difficult, when they seem like they're never going to end, there's a flip side to that. And the cyclical piece of that is they do get better. So just know that no matter what season you're in, no matter how high the high, no matter how low the low, like there's always going to be a cycle, and there's always going to be good times, bad times, in between times. But the biggest thing is like, how are you controlling that? What is on you? And control the controllables. I've said this in a few past videos, but like I think that as a mom and as just a parent and a mom that works and is running the home and the babies and the business and all the things, like we really, really do have to give ourselves grace and more credit, to be honest. Like give yourself more credit for all the beautiful things that you're doing and creating, because number one, it's not easy. And number two, like if you are doing all these things, you really just, you're superwoman. And that's really like, women are so powerful. And look, I'm not canceling out the guys, but I'm just saying to all my ladies out here, like you and we really do it all. The luncheons, the lunches, meaning like for the kids, the dinners, like all the meals and the schlepping and all the things. So give yourself more credit, and just know that like if you're in a season right now and it feels difficult, you're gonna get out of it. You're gonna come out on the other side, and you're probably gonna get some amazing lessons and opportunities that are in there as well. So I hope this episode resonated with you. I hope that it helped you, because we truly are not in this alone. We are in this together. And I want to know, comment below. Number one, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. But I also want to know from you, are you in a season right now? Are you in like a summer slump right now? Are you in some kind of challenging season? Are you in a busy season? Are you in a traveling season? Are you in an easy season? What season are you in? Comment below. Let me know. I can't wait to hear from you. But again, these tips have helped me. I hope they help you. And as always, go out and slay your day.